All right, so today we're diving into something pretty interesting. It might seem simple at first glance, but trust me, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
I'm intrigued.
We're talking about gratitude.
Gratitude.
Yeah. We've got some fascinating material that frames it not just as, a fleeting feeling of thankfulness,
Right.
but as a deliberate practice,
Yeah.
something you actively cultivate that can actually lead to some pretty amazing changes.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack what this practice of gratitude actually looks like.
Yeah.
And how you can actually weave it into your daily life to experience those benefits, those tangible, positive shifts that go way beyond just saying a quick thank you.
I'm all ears. Let's dive in.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So when we think about gratitude,
Mhm.
what usually comes to mind?
Well, it's easy to just think of those polite acknowledgments, like saying thank you to someone for holding the door.
Right, exactly.
Basic manners.
Yeah, but what our source material really emphasizes is that gratitude runs much deeper than that. It's about really truly recognizing and appreciating the good things in your life. And that includes everything from those big life-changing events to even the smallest everyday moments.
I see. So it's not just about acknowledging the good, it's about really soaking it in.
Exactly. And the key here is that it's an active process. It's about you choosing to cultivate a positive outlook, even when things get tough.
Yeah, that makes sense. Life isn't always sunshine and rainbows, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how do you cultivate that positivity even when you're facing challenges? That's where the practice part comes in.
Right, because anyone can be grateful when things are going well, but what about when you're dealing with stress or setbacks?
Exactly. And what's really compelling is that the research actually backs this up. Our source material points to studies that link the practice of gratitude to some pretty significant improvements in both mental and physical well-being.
Oh, really? Like what specifically?
We're talking about lower stress levels, better sleep, stronger relationships, even things like improved cardiovascular health.
Wow, that's impressive. I wouldn't have necessarily connected gratitude to physical health.
Right. It's pretty amazing. And what's interesting is that our source material specifically mentions studies showing that practicing gratitude can actually lower your cortisol levels.
Cortisol levels, that's the stress hormone, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not just some fluffy feel-good concept. There's a real physiological impact happening.
Okay, so we're talking about measurable changes in the body, not just a change in mindset.
Right. It's about a shift in how you see things. And that shift can have some pretty powerful ripple effects.
I'm starting to see how this goes beyond just saying thank you.
It really does.
Yeah.
I actually have a personal story that really brought this home for me. A while back, I was going through a really rough patch.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was one of those times where it felt like everything was going wrong, and I was having a hard time seeing any light at the end of the tunnel.
I can relate to that feeling.
A friend suggested I try gratitude journaling. Just writing down 3 good things every night before bed.
Gratitude journaling. Huh, interesting.
Yeah, I'll be honest. At first, I was skeptical. How was scribbling down a few lines going to make any real difference to the massive challenges I was facing?
Yeah.
Felt kind of naive almost.
Yeah, I can see how you'd feel that way. When you're in the thick of it, focusing on the positive can seem almost impossible.
Exactly. But I was desperate enough to try anything, so I started doing it. And you know what? It wasn't an instant miracle. My problems didn't magically disappear,
Right.
but gradually something started to shift. Instead of my mind automatically going to everything that was wrong, I started noticing the little things that were actually okay or even good. It was like my brain was being rewired to see the positives.
So you started to notice things you hadn't before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like the smell of coffee in the morning, a kind text from a friend, even just a beautiful sunset.
Those little moments.
Yeah. And over time, those small moments really started to add up. I wouldn't say I was suddenly blissful, but I definitely felt more grounded, more hopeful, like I could actually handle whatever came my way.
That's amazing. It sounds like shifting your focus to gratitude helped you build resilience.
It really did. And that's what I want to emphasize for anyone listening. It's not about pretending everything's perfect or ignoring the hard stuff. It's about actively choosing to see the good alongside the bad and letting that change how you feel.
That makes a lot of sense. So for those of us who are intrigued by this idea of gratitude, how do we actually put it into practice?
Great question. Our source material outlines a few really practical, actionable ways to incorporate gratitude into your daily life.
Yeah.
And the first one is what I just mentioned, gratitude journaling.
Okay, so just taking a few minutes each day to write down things you're grateful for.
Exactly. And the key here is that it doesn't have to be these huge monumental things. Often, it's the smallest, most everyday occurrences that can have the biggest impact.
Right, like those simple things you mentioned earlier, the smell of coffee, a kind text.
Exactly. It's about training yourself to notice and appreciate those little sparks of good that are already present in your life.
It sounds simple enough, but I can imagine it takes some effort to make it a habit.
It does, but that's the beauty of it. It's a practice, something you cultivate over time.
Yeah,
And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes.
makes sense. So what are some other ways to practice gratitude?
Another practice our source material highlights is writing gratitude letters.
Gratitude letters. Tell me more.
It's pretty straightforward. You think of someone who's had a positive impact on your life, and you write them a letter expressing your appreciation for them and what they've done.
Okay, so it's like a thank you note, but more in depth.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is that the source emphasizes that you don't even have to send the letter for it to be beneficial.
Really? Why is that?
Because the act of writing itself, the process of reflecting on someone's positive influence and putting your gratitude into words can be incredibly powerful.
I see. It's like the act of writing helps you really appreciate that person and their impact on your life.
Exactly. And of course, if you do choose to send a letter, that can have a profound impact on the recipient as well.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way to express appreciation and strengthen those connections.
Absolutely. So we've got gratitude journaling, we've got gratitude letters, and the third practice our source suggests is something called mindful moments.
Mindful moments. I like the sound of that. What does that involve?
It's all about being present and intentionally pausing throughout your day to notice and appreciate something in that moment. It could be anything, the feeling of the sun on your skin, the taste of a delicious meal, even just a moment of quiet stillness.
So it's about bringing that awareness and appreciation to everyday experiences.
Exactly. It's like hitting the pause button on autopilot and saying, hey, I'm grateful for this moment.
And I imagine that can be a really grounding practice, especially in our busy, always-on world.
You definitely can. And, the source material actually suggests that even just starting with one mindful moment a day can make a difference.
That seems doable. It's
Yeah.
about incorporating these practices into your life in a way that feels manageable.
Exactly. It's not about striving for some unrealistic standard of constant, perfect gratitude. It's about making a conscious effort to cultivate it bit by bit.
And that consistency is key, right? It's about making gratitude a regular part of your life rather than just something you think about occasionally.
Absolutely. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. You start to see the world through a different lens. You notice the good more easily, and that can have a ripple effect on everything you do.
It's like you're training your brain to focus on the positive.
Exactly. So for anyone listening, I encourage you to take a moment right now and reflect. What's one thing, even something really small, that you feel grateful for today?
Yeah, what's one thing that's bringing you a sense of joy or appreciation in this moment?
And if you're feeling up to it, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them with us using the hashtag Mindful Moments Podcast. We always appreciate hearing your experiences and reflections.
And it's important to remember that there will be times when finding things to be grateful for feels really hard. Life throws curveballs. Things happen that make it difficult to see the good.
Absolutely. But even in those moments, the source material reminds us that the very act of looking for something positive is a step forward.
Right. It's not about forcing yourself to feel grateful when you're genuinely hurting. It's about that willingness to seek out even the smallest glimmer of light amidst the darkness.
Exactly. And that's what we really wanted to explore in this deep dive today. It's not about some superficial good vibes only mentality. It's about recognizing the power of gratitude as a practice, something that can genuinely shift your perspective and help you navigate life's challenges with more resilience and hope.
And it's important to remember that it's a journey, not a destination. It's about progress, not perfection.
Absolutely. Every small act of gratitude, every moment of appreciation counts. So as you go about your day, I want to leave you with this thought. What if the very act of seeking out gratitude, even in the smallest things, starts to change not just how you see the world, but how you interact with it?
That's a powerful idea.
What if by consistently focusing on the positive, however small, you actually start to experience more positive moments in your life? It's something to ponder.
I think you've given us all a lot to think about today. Thanks for this deep dive.
Of course, thanks for joining me. And to everyone listening, remember, progress, not perfection. Every step you take towards cultivating gratitude is a step in the right direction.
On to a more grateful and fulfilling life.